Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast we bring you every week. If you could head out there onto YouTube, the upper tier, of course, smash that subscribe button and bell notification, and obviously drop a like on the video as well. Tonight, we're going to bring you the Merseyside derby preview, Liverpool versus Everton. Two teams with contrasting situations up until last week. And last weekend, absolute polar opposites, I would say. Everton, as we know, have been struggling all season. Lampard exits the building. In comes Sean Dyche, the nightmare of all nightmares for us just before the Merseyside derby. Absolutely gets the boys fired up, takes control of training, doing beep tests, sending players doing laps of the training area because they don't have the right attitude. Real old school stuff from Dyche. Arsenal rock up to Goodison, and Everton walk away with the 3 points with a 1-0 win. Massive win for them, massive uplift, massive change in fortunes. Made Arsenal look quite ordinary on the day. Bullied them, harassed them, pressed hard, functioned as a unit, did everything that you would expect from a team like Everton normally, and a team like Everton who are in trouble and fighting for their lives. So hats off to them. Contrast that with Liverpool, who went to Molineux and like a carcass let the wolves feed on them. We were horrific all over the park. Started off giving up a terrible OG, should have never happened. Second goal by Craig Dawson was unforgivable. And the third one was what I would say like a typical Liverpool goal from the past. Quick breakaway out to the wing, ball into the centre and hit home. But we can't find a goal. We can just about at times get a shot on target. We're creating very little. Our confidence is in the gutter. We're in serious trouble. And I think the starting lineup this Monday night at Anfield, I think will give us an indication of where the gaffer's head is in terms of priorities. We know that there's a number of players have returned to training. We'll talk about them shortly in the team news. And the question is, will those players be thrown in terms of keeping us somewhere in the league to be able to fight back and hang on to that last bit of hope of a top four finish. And I would be worried about that, and we'll talk about it. We'll bring up the teams and talk about all that kind of stuff shortly. Just a couple of people in the comments. Dar's in the comments. Good to see you, Dar. Dar's a good mate. Drops into the shop all the time and stuff like that. Big wrestling fan, but also big football fan. Liverpool man himself. Hopefully it'll be a good game, but not sure if Liverpool will get the 3 points. I'm kind of similar to yourself, pal. And Eno's in the comments as always. What's the crack, Noel? What's the crack, Eno? Good to hear from you as always. Gonna go hook this up on the flat screen. Hope the telly isn't too big, Eno. I don't want to make me look any bigger than I look already, let's be honest. But let's get back to this game. Yeah, it's like for us, there's just a lack of dare I say, there's a lack of responsibility with each man and stuff like that. And when you look at when you look at us in the past and you look at really well coached and well drilled teams, so you look at the Brightons and the Brentfords, and you know how Brighton were drilled under Potter and Brentford now under Thomas Frank, and you know they're set up in a certain way and they're set up towards their strengths and set up to combat their weaknesses. And we just look all over the shop at the moment. We literally had no midfield the other day against Wolves. And what little midfield we had, they literally bypassed it. We have a back line that would give you no confidence at all. Gomez and Matip were both horrific. And I just think it has spread through the team. And I think we can talk about the off the field topics and all that kind of stuff and all, but at the end of the day, 11 men have to cross that white line and wear that badge and wear that famous jersey and pony up and man up and take responsibility for their situation on the pitch. And we don't have a lot of that in the team at the moment. We're void of leadership. We're void of responsibility. When we drop a goal, there's a lot of looking around to see who they can pin it on. A man once said, we win as a team and we lose as a team, don't we? But there seems to be a lot going on there at the moment. And then you've like the stupidity of journalists this week talking about the potential for Jurgen Klopp to be sacked and all that. Jurgen Klopp will never be sacked. Jurgen Klopp will either walk away on his own terms or he will see it out and rebuild the club. So this talk and this clickbait stuff of Jurgen Klopp getting sacked, let's not be silly here. You know what I mean? We're talking about Liverpool Football Club. We're probably, when it comes to managers, we're generally the most forgiving club in the world in terms of our support to the latter end of managers' careers and stuff like that. But I just think this is a vital game. I mean, it's a local derby. It's massive. It's going to be physical. It's going to be intense. It's going to have everything that you would expect for a derby, and then you couple that with the war of attrition that we're going to see literally on the sideline between Klopp and Dyche. You can be guaranteed they're going to get into it at some stage. But this will be a game where Liverpool players will have to look at themselves in the mirror and actually see what they're really about. And this game, I think, will give us an indication of whether some of those players that we spoke about all season are really up for this, and that potentially there's been a form issue and a confidence issue, or whether some of these players are well and truly done. And that's what this will show on Monday night at 10 o'clock. And we will be here for a match reaction and player ratings. But I think it's really, really important that we get that out of the way and we say that this is a pivotal game on so many levels. It's going to tell us a lot about where the manager's head is at in terms of the season. Real Madrid on the horizon, of course, 2 huge games against Real Madrid. And it will tell us where the players are at. And also it will give us an indication that if those players are put back in who have returned, it'll give us an indication, was that really the issue? Has our issue this season been injury based, or is it more of the same old, same old? I know the midfield ain't going to change that much, but we give options in there and we'll see what it's like. My brother is in the comments. First time in many years I've been extremely worried about facing Everton at Anfield. Everton licking their lips, and I can honestly see them winning. Yeah, it's a good point. Absolutely a good point. And like, why wouldn't they be confident rocking up to Anfield after their performance last week? And knowing that we're very vulnerable at the moment in terms of our play, in terms of our ability to bite back if something goes wrong. We've spent the last number of games when things go wrong, instead of picking ourselves back up and dusting ourselves off and getting back into games, we've dropped off and started feeling sorry for ourselves. And you can see that if you cough up a goal early, as we have been doing a lot in the last, say, 2 to 3 months, you can see it just flows out of the players onto the pitch. You can see that they just become very, very ordinary and haven't got a clue what their responsibility is on the pitch. And we know all the issues. We know FSG. We know that we didn't have a doctor. We know that we've had injuries. We know that we've had all these things going on. But the great coaches and the great managers and the great teams, and as a fan, I believe we're all of that, find a way. Don't let it escalate and escalate and escalate. And I fear for the team on Monday night, because I think Everton are going to have a real go at this, because they still find themselves in a difficult position. And I think Dyche will have them fired up. And I'm hoping that our motivation at Anfield with the crowd and everything that's going on, and I know they've asked the crowd, everyone, to bring flags and banners and all, and really lit up the stadium the way we should as fans. And we have a huge part to play in that as well inside the stadium on Monday night with the atmosphere. But I'm hoping that our motivation and that our belief in each of these players and their belief in each other and their teammates is enough to see us get through this, because a draw or a loss in this is very, very difficult times for us. Dino back in the comments. Never thought I'd even consider saying that, but such is the fall off a cliff Liverpool have had that I wouldn't trust us against Solihull Moors. Yeah, it's like it's there's not a game. I'd say in the last 2 to 3 months, there's not a game that we've played that I've turned around and said, yeah, well, I think that should be a nailed on 3-pointer and stuff like that. I think every game for us now is a struggle where we're at. So let's talk about current form. Current form for Liverpool at the moment: 2 wins, 3 losses, and a draw. Really poor form. And Everton is 1 win, 1 draw, and 4 losses. So they've obviously, the win is the Arsenal one last week. They were absolutely excellent, albeit Calvert-Lewin was taken off precautionary with a tight hamstring, I think it was. So he may or may not make this game. We don't know. Chances are, if he's there or thereabouts, Dyche will put him in there. He needs him in there. And we're going to talk about some team news now. So obviously, Liverpool have welcomed back a number of players to training. Thank God, Jota's back in there. We've seen the images. Van Dijk. We're hearing the hologram Arthur Melo is back. The Juventus's version of Ben Davis is back in training. Firmino was pretty close. Luis Diaz is somewhat ahead of schedule, but nothing to do with this. Just he's back in doing some sort of work. For Everton, obviously, Michael Keane is back and Calvert-Lewin are back. But again, Calvert-Lewin came off with a tight hamstring, so it remains to be seen what's that kind of like, and whether he'll be involved or not. Very dangerous player and stuff like that. Obviously, Garner and Townsend remain sidelined with a number of other players who probably wouldn't feature. So if we look at the lineup, I'm going to pull up a lineup here and get people's thoughts. It's not my lineup. I just wanted to throw players onto the page and get your thoughts. So obviously, we would expect Ali to be in goals. I don't think that's without doubt. The back four is the back four that's been in there. We've seen how poor Gomez has been. We've seen how poor Matip has been. So the question is, does either of them retain their place? Because I assume Trent's going to retain his place and Robertson's going to retain his place. So the question is, do either of these boys retain their place? Does Virgil go into this game? Would you throw Virgil back into this game with the Real Madrid game just around the corner, only back off injury? We know how physical this game is going to be. You know, we know what's happened to Virgil in the past in Merseyside derbies. So I wonder, will the gaffer take that risk and put him in there? Is it time to put Nat Phillips in there? I think it is. I think Nat Phillips is one of those guys who'll give you 100%. He'll throw his head in for every ball. He'll clear everything that he can. We know that with Tarkowski and with Cody in there, Everton are going to be, attacking down the flanks. They're going to be putting balls into the box. They're going to be trying to win corners and free kicks and set pieces and stuff like that. So Tarkowski and Cody can come up to attack us. We know how fragile we've been on those set pieces, corners and free kicks, especially the aerial stuff. Look, we seen it last week with Wolves. And it's been in a number of games. So that's where their plan will be. Their plan will be to get balls into the box for these guys, basically off corners and free kicks and set pieces and stuff like that. So that's going to be kind of their game plan. We know how dangerous they are. So the question is it Virgil you want in there? Would you put Virgil in? Would you go with Matip and Nat Phillips? Surely I couldn't see a place for Joe Gomez in this lineup. Unless the gaffer has an absolute meltdown and puts him into right back and takes Trent out or something like that, which I can't see happening. There's been a lot of calls this week for Henderson to come back into the side, that he's the captain of the club, he's the natural leader, he's there, he's what you need in the midst of a Merseyside derby when things get tough and aggressive in that midfield and stuff like that. A lot of what we haven't seen from Jordan Henderson this season, but we would hope to see it in something as important to the fans as a Merseyside derby. So does Jordan go back in there? And if he goes back in there, does he go back in there in that Fabinho role? I'm not too sure. I think he'll probably go with Thiago, Fabinho, and Henderson. I think Keita comes out, being honest, in that midfield, and I think he'll revert back to type. I'd love to see the boy Bietic in there. He loves a good war in that midfield and stuff like that, and he would relish a game against the rivals, of course. But I just think the gaffer, I think he'll revert to type, and that's my fear. And then up front, couple of options up front. I mean, you could go naturally with what we did last week, which didn't produce a whole lot. Gakpo on the left, Nunez up the middle, Salah on the right. All very blunt and misfiring. You could bring Jota back into the side, but do you want to risk Jota before the Real Madrid game? And again, this is where I talk about the gaffer and his intentions for the season. This is where we find ourselves. If he's not going to risk Van Dijk if they're not ready, or not going to risk Jota if he's not ready, or if he is ready, if he doesn't risk him, if we find both boys are on the bench, then his intentions are pretty clear that these boys we're targeting the Champions League, and we kind of rolled off the league, and we'll find ourselves wherever we find ourselves. So that's my thoughts kind of on the lineup. I would say if Jota comes in, Jota probably goes on the left, doesn't he? Nunez up the middle, Salah on the right. Would be probably the lineup then, and it would be one that I would love to see. I think, to be honest, the boy Cody Gakpo, I think he's come into a very, very difficult situation, has shown little bits at times, but not a whole lot about him. And I think he probably needs a bit of time out of that kind of situation. So if we could get Jota in there, it would be absolutely fantastic. And assuming he comes through the game perfect and all, that would be really important. Plus, we would need that bite that Jota would give us in there against the likes of Cody or against the likes of Tarkowski. We need a little bit of dare I say, a little bit of shithousery in there, which is what happens in these derbies, So then when you look at the Everton lineup, it's not a million miles away from what we seen the other day. Dar's in the comments again. Actually, sorry, first shout out to everyone in the chat, absolutely. And Dar back again. I'd like to see Henderson and Phillips back in the team. Yeah, Phillips definitely, because I think Phillips, I think he'd relish this game. Knowing me saying that now, he probably wouldn't have a howler on Monday, but I think what he gives us that bit of bite, dare I say, that bit of honesty and bit of grit that you might need in there to, throw your body in the way of stuff, win headers, be very physical with them and stuff like that. Especially like if you look at what Gomez has done over the last few weeks and Matip as well, the thoughts of them, Mark and Cody and Tarkowski, just send shivers down my spine, to be honest. So if we look at everything here and we think about last week, Pickford obviously in goals, Tarkowski and Cody at the back, absolutely two warriors. Mikalenko on the left, Coleman on the right. Coleman, who looks rejuvenated under Dyche. Seamus Coleman was unbelievable last week. Incredible to how good he played. Was getting up in Arsenal's faces and all and giving them guff, and really came out there looking like a real leader and a real captain. Three in the middle there, Doucouré, Gueye and Onana. McNeil flanking, of course, with Iwobi. McNeil, again, another player very familiar with Dyche, so he'd know what way Dyche wants to play. And when you think about it, they were very much last week set up like a Burnley side. When you think about it, that high energy, high press, not giving anything away, solid when you don't have the ball, dropping back, making life very difficult. And then it'll be probably Maupay up front. And I mean, we see the level of shithousery for him last week against Arsenal, so we'll get more of that this week against Liverpool. If Dominic Calvert-Lewin makes it, then he might go with him. But it'll be interesting to see how the 4-5-1 matches up against. Probably, I assume we're going to go with 4-3-3 again. And again, I worry about going with that 4-3-3 because at the moment it doesn't look like, from what we've seen, that we have the legs for it. It doesn't look like we have the energy, and we certainly don't have the press. So that's my problem with that. So that's kind of a drill down in terms of the lineups and stuff like that. This is going to be a really, really difficult game. This, and like on another day, as Dino said in the comments there, it's the first time in a long time you'd be worried about a Merseyside derby at Anfield and stuff like that. And it's just such a drop off from us. And you look at the energy of Everton even last week. They had such energy against Arsenal. They could have ran for 180 minutes. They were so strong. So that would be my worry. I looked at the betting today, which I think is absolutely ludicrous again. Of course, we get all our betting odds from Boyle Sports. Liverpool are 4-9 on. The draw is 16-5, so just over 3-1. And Everton are 11-2. 11-2. Can you believe the betting is so wide in relation to us being so poor? They've been poor, but back under Dyche now, they look like they're back at it, So I picked two little bets with some decent odds on it for us this week. I picked both teams to score in the first half as 4-1, because we know that we're shipping goals pretty early, and we also know that Everton capable of scoring early on in games. So 4-1 for both teams to score in the first half, and then Everton to score in both halves is 13-2. They're the two bets I picked. I didn't really pick an Everton, or I didn't pick a Liverpool bet because I didn't want to put the mockers on it, because the last few weeks I've been picking Everton bets and Mo Salah and all that, and they just haven't come up at all. So I kind of steered clear of it. And then it comes to the prediction. And this is the horrible side where you're trying to pick them with your heart and with your head and stuff like that. And if you look on the face of it and you look at last week, I don't see this being a great result for us, and I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. That's what I'm predicting, which really doesn't help our plight in the league, but could be a huge point for Everton overall. But I think we're going to have to be on our game. We're going to have to be on it from minute one, 100% concentration, 100% of the time. And that's why I'm thinking, when you look at the lineups, I think the likes of Matip and the likes of Gomez has to come out. And there I'd say, and here's a huge shout. And why not? Change is needed. Players have to be dropped at the moment the way they're playing. Would we even go with a Nat Phillips and a Reece Williams, who's been recalled from his loan move? Would you rather see Reece Williams and Nat Phillips in there than Matip and Gomez based on form at the moment? If Virgil isn't available. Obviously, if Virgil is available, we'd want him in there. But certainly I would be looking at ways to take the two boys out at the moment. They're so poor and so void of confidence. To the point where it's spilling over and frustrating the hell out of our goalkeeper at the moment. Alisson just looks absolutely fed up with the way things are going. I think it's key that Henderson doesn't play in that holding role, that Henderson plays out where Keita is, because I'd like to see the Trent, Hendo, Salah combination again there, and some sort of real good link-up play and overlapping play and stuff like that. But I'd also like, when Trent does go forward to attack in those moments, that Henderson sits in there and provides that cover that is needed. Thiago obviously on the other side himself, Robbo, and Jota it could be, and maybe Gakpo comes out of the team. But we will see, because if this is the team that presents itself on Monday night, then we know where the gaffer's head is at. And remember, we're 4 days out for it, so there's still a good bit of training sessions and all to be done and things to be changed between now and then. So that's my overall thoughts on the Merseyside derby at the moment. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know your lineups, who you would like to see. As always, let us know your prediction as well, and what would be the fallout. I mean, if it's only a draw, or if we were to even lose, what would that mean in relation to the team, in relation to Jurgen, in relation to the season? Are we truly writing off the season now in terms of the league and putting all our eggs into the Champions League basket? I think the actual starting lineup will be telltale for that. Acers in the comments here. This is a game of either Everton midfield destroy Liverpool or Mohamed Salah turns up and destroys Everton. Yeah, and he's going to need a lot of support to do that because he's been trying to do a lot of it on his own recently. So we're going to need Trent in there. We're going to need Hendo in there. We're going to need a lot of link-up play and stuff like that. But yeah, appreciate it, Acers. Absolutely. Ian's back in. A good football game, no messing about. Yeah, absolutely. Both teams getting stuck into each other. Dar's thinking as well. He's going with a 2-2 draw, similar to myself. Warren's in there. Check out Warren's team talk. Hi Niall, in my opinion, you need to have players in the team who are going to scrap and roll the sleeves up. Otherwise, I fear for you. Absolutely. The problem is, if you look at the last couple of weeks, Warren, we don't have 10 players to swap out because that's what you're looking at. If that's the theory that we go with, because no one has been rolling up their sleeves and having a go, except for the boy Bietic and occasionally Harvey Elliott. Two kids that have been carrying the team, so it's a real tough one. It's the last game of the weekend as well. Dare I say, results could potentially maybe go our way, and if they do go our way, when that door opens, are we going to step through it or are we going to slam it shut again? That would be my fear. But thanks for joining us, Warren. Yeah, check out Warren's team talk. Some great shows going out there. He's covering the Six Nations this year as well. So if you're into your rugby as well, make sure you're checking out his watch-alongs and stuff like that. Really, really cool. Warren's going for a 1-0 win for Everton. Sorry, mate. No problem at all. You do not have to apologise. Look, would it shock me? No. Would it upset me? Yes. So yeah, we will see what happens. But I think it will be a tight game. But again, it depends on how we start. If we start coughing up a goal early or something like that, it's going to be a real uphill struggle. And the problem is as well, if we let Everton do their thing and bully and harass us, you're going to get a very quiet on field as well. And you're going to get a crowd that just aren't up for it either. And then it will be really telltale time, Big shout out to Alison, Ian's daughter. How are you, Alison? Good to see you there. Absolutely. Right, folks, I got to jump off. We're going to be back at 9 o'clock, myself and the Dazzler, with Thursday Tier Talk. We're going to be taking you through a Premier League preview. We'll be dropping our picks and tips for Beat the Bookie. We're going to be talking about all the latest news, including the resurfacing of the European Super League, which is sure to get people talking about things, no doubt about it. Until next time, folks, of course, if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, drop a like on the video. If you want to contact us, you know where we are. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Or if you want to email us, it's the uppertierpodcast@gmail.com. Come on, you Reds. Give me something to shout about. Give me a match reaction that I can enjoy on Monday evening. Cheers, folks.